Deep in the ocean, an orca pod is on the hunt. But these aren't your average orcas. These guys are organized.
Marketing team, did you get those social media posts scheduled for the seal migration?
Aye, Captain. We even have an automated notification for all pod managers when they go live.
They use Monday.com to keep their teamwork sharp, their communication clear, and their goals in sight. Monday.com. For whatever you run, even orcas. Go to Monday.com to dive deeper.
Welcome to the RuPaul's Drag Race Recap Show for Global All-Stars Season 1, Episode 7, titled Snatch Game of Love. My name is Joe Batanz, and I am joined, as always, by one impressionable co-host from Rulask. What is with me today? From Rulaska Thoughts. Please say...
I'm a boring-ass bitch.
This is... Roberto Mata, and I want everyone to know I don't fall for your tricks. I'm sure you guys all thought Joe was going to put the taco thing in there.
Yes, I was very much waiting for that.
No.
I'm actually kind of sad.
No. She did not. Anyway, hi Robert. How are you?
Hey Joe. I'm splendid. Impressionable. I don't know about that, but whatever.
Well, I was just to do impressions for
Snatch Game.
I
see the
think
through
of a
line.
word that ties into the show.
I didn't understand your genius.
I'm not that genius. Let me tell you this. I'm in a bad mood today. But we did have a very pleasant-ish experience over on Just Between Us Girls that you can go listen to over at patreon.com/afterthoughtmedia. And I'm going to tell you something. There is a lot for that. We had a 20-minute thing. I went on rants. Did I go on a rant? Yeah, about the gym and about Christian not inviting me to his birthday party. All kinds of stuff, right? That I wouldn't have gone to anyway because it started at midnight, you know? And yeah, so you can hear all that at patreon.com/afterthoughtmedia, or you can just scroll right up and just subscribe on Apple Podcasts, which, by the way, though, now we're not going to launch it now mid-season, but we'll start it next year. Now it can be a thing now, and we're going to talk all about this right here. Actually, let me fade out of this, where we'll start this. You know what? We'll start it with Dragula, with Just Between Us Ghouls. But now on Patreon, you don't have to subscribe to the Patreon. You don't have to subscribe to anything. But I will make Just Between Us Ghouls available as a show that you can just subscribe to that show. And you would get all current and future episodes of Just Between Us Ghouls for season 666 on Dragula, which starts... we're dropping... Actually, Robert, you don't watch Dragula, right?
No, the farthest I go with horror is like Final Destination. Yeah. So, but
I'm going to tell you something, Robert, and a lot of the true Afterthought fans will tell you this. That might be a podcast that like a lot of people are doing with Global All Stars, where they're not watching Global All Stars. They're just listening to our podcast to hear about Global All Stars. Mm-hmm. And a lot of our biggest fans, some of them came through Dragula. The people love Hello Uglies is the name of the show. Hello Uglies, our Dragula recap show, is very popular, very funny. It's because actually Lori doesn't really do Drag Race recap because she doesn't know who anybody is, but she knows everything about Dragula. Okay. And so that show is very good. It's very camp. It's very funny. It's a very, very popular show. And yeah, so check that out. It's gonna we're gonna do our Meet Our Monsters episode this week is dropping, and then the new episode drops next week.
I mean, I love the goddess of glitz, glamour, ghoulishness, and
gossip and gore,
gaggery,
and ghoulishness and gaggery. You're right. And sometimes there's little bits in the beginning. It's getting harder and harder to do that, but yeah. And it also, by the way, I just sold the Just Between Us Ghouls thing. Now you can actually do that for any of the shows. So if you just want to hear our fantastic Sydney gays, you can go there right now and buy the complete collection over at patreon.com/afterthoughtmedia. Our Finding Prince Charming recap, which is amazing. You can just go buy that. Have you ever listened to that, Robert?
No, but do you know my Close encounter with Robert Sepulveda. So
I do.
Well, one time I was dating a boy who immediately after we stopped dating, he started dating him. And I was like, how are you going to drop one Robert for another?
And then you saw the thing of Robert Sepulveda drinking cum from a condom?
I had seen that well before that, yeah.
So anyway, yeah. Finding Prince Charming, all the shows that Hallmark Homos, all those shows, they're over there. You can you're like, I don't want to subscribe to Patreon. I just want to buy this show. Go and do it, patreon.com/afterthoughtmedia. And you can just get that show. All right, well, let's actually jump into this episode. Oh, by the way, new episode of The Tea this week as well. Tea, the great show, The Tea. This week, the girls get into quick drag and pose to be cover girls for a new gay dating app for this week's Maxi Challenge. It's the Snatch Game of Love. In the end, Kitty Scott Claus was named the winner of this week's challenge, while Galavado and Vanity Vane were placed in the bottom two. After a lip-sync battle for their lives, Vanity Vane lived to see another day, while Galavado was asked to sashay away. Robert, I usually do 2 questions here, but I'm going to ask you 3. Were the right queens in the bottom 2? What did you think of that lip sync? And did the right queen go home?
I think for the first time this recap season, I 100% agreed with the bottom 2. Unfortunately. So, yeah, Galavado, she just didn't do it for me as Lord Leon or anyone else probably. And Vanity didn't do it for me as Lorene, although like I agreed with Jamal when he said that the physicality was something at least to note. But into the lip sync, I think this is a common opinion. It seems to be what a crazy out of left field bizarre choice, and I loved that boldness. I love this. I don't love the song. I'm not out here listening to it while I'm on the treadmill, but I thought that was exactly the kind of foolishness that I want to see on my Drag Race period, and Global All Stars, where people don't have to memorize English lyrics, is a plus. So it worked on multiple fronts. I would have loved the lip sync more if Galavaro would have put her fucking hands down and not mimed it like a Muppet the whole time with, the little hand bunnies. I forget what they're called, but you know what I mean. And it felt a touch bit short, but otherwise I thought it was great. One of the best lip syncs we've had this season so far. And I think that, Vanity did beat her. So, unfortunately, even though, I want to be in solidarity with all Mexicans, well, maybe not all Mexicans, a lot of Mexicans, a lot of the time, sadly, I think Galavaro she rightfully went home.
The correct people were in the bottom. However, Tessa could have been there too, and it would have been fine.
She could have, yeah.
Yeah. I didn't read any of the internet thoughts on this lip sync. I thought it was horrible.
Okay.
I've thought a lot about this lip sync. In fact, even woke up in the middle of the night last night thinking about this lip sync.
Wow.
Because here's the ironic part of having Mana Mana from the Muppets as the lip sync song.
Are you a Muppet scholar?
Not a Muppet scholar. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with, it's obviously a silly song. And you're going to have 2 people who were so unfunny that they're in the bottom 2. And now expect them to do a funny lip sync to a funny song. And it sort of reminds me, I'm going to go back to Snatch Game, of the stuff you see of a good example is when someone will be like, I'm going to be Moira Rose. I'm going to be Catherine O'Hara as Moira Rose for Snatch Game. And you're like, bitch, don't do that. Because Moira Rose, first of all, Catherine O'Hara is one of the funniest fucking people already.
Mm-hmm.
She's doing this character that people think are funny. It's funny. That character's already funny. How are you going to make that funnier?
Yeah.
You can't. Tall order, even for the funniest people ever. The problem is the funniest people ever would know that and not do that character.
Yeah, probably.
And it's the same thing. It's basically gilding a lily.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least in the best case scenario would be. And I think, and so if you were forced to be Moira Rose for some reason, it would be a tough nut to crack, even for the funniest queens. Even for a Jinx Monsoon, it'd be hard. You have to bring a new spin to it.
Yes, that's what I was going to say.
To have these people who are already not funny, okay, have to then be funny on a song that's funny is a tall order. Because I'll tell you what, it was horrible. I didn't like it. I didn't laugh once. You're right. This Galavado doing the Muppet thing, because Galavado only knows how to look pretty. And look, she's really good at it. She's really good at looking pretty. But these people, you see this on TikTok all the time. It'll be an attractive person who's like, their idea of comedy is to make some sort of stupid face.
Yeah, okay? Yeah, absolutely.
And that's Galavado. Her idea of comedy is I'm going to make a stupid face and dance around like a fucking fool, okay? And do the stupid dance. Because here's the deal. But Galavado doesn't think like this. Galavado actually had the tools in her arsenal to make this funny. The correct answer was to take this lip sync very seriously and be very sexy during this lip sync.
I concur.
So in between the Manamenas, slide your pussy across the floor. After a Manamana, do a death drop. After a Manamana, do some sexy pose, you know?
Yeah.
Then it would have been funny, because you can't be funny with something that's funny. The reason Vanity Vane kind of got it was she kind of did that. She kind of just sort of acted it out as like a drag queen having to do this song in a lip sync, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I will say Vanity Vane's also insane, because at the end, in a confessional, she goes, that might be one of the most iconic lip syncs this season. I was funny. And I'm like, first of all, you can't say that about yourself. Okay. And part two, no, you weren't. She wasn't funny. Nobody was funny. And the way that the Javis and Jamal and Michelle and Rue were laughing hysterically, I'm not even joking. The way it was shot, I thought it was a horror movie. I felt like I was watching Carrie. They just threw pig's blood on them, and she saw them laughing at her. That's what I felt like. Because I'm like, this isn't funny. This is horrifying. And if I would have been there, you would have used my telekinetic powers to kill everybody in the studio. Anyway,
even the teacher who was nice to you?
Even the teacher who was nice to me, John Travolta, everybody.
Goodness. Well, I thought that it fit Vanity's very dry, deadpan, grumpy persona, and that's why it worked for me. But that was almost exclusively because of the like gravelly tone of the Manamenas and the way that she embodied a grumpy character for it. So no, it's not like I was laughing, but I was mildly entertained.
She said I was funny.
Well, at this point,
I was funny.
Yeah, at this point in the competition, they keep telling Vanity, you don't realize that you're funny. So I think she's starting to just mimic what she's hearing.
Here's the deal. There are a lot of cases, and I'm wondering how the loss of the Emmy, even though it's meaningless, will hopefully fix this. But it does feel like the Emperor wears no clothes in this show a lot of times, where Michelle and Rue and Jamal, at least on their parts, are trying to sell this. The Javis are just trying to suck RuPaul's dick. And they're trying to get a third. I want to talk about them when we get to them. But and everyone also, I want to talk about too, Robert, put this in your notes. Everyone is saying that the season premiere of Drag Race España was fantastic.
Oh, I was going to bring it up when we talked about the Javis. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And one thing that I'm going to say this right now. Okay, let me put Javis in my notes because I have a lot of things to say about the Javis. Okay.
Yeah, they'll come up, no doubt.
Yeah. Okay, so why don't we do this? Why don't we take a break And when we come back, we're going to talk about the rest of the episode. I have 2 pages of notes. We'll be back right after this.
Your teen requested a ride, but this time not from you. It's through their Uber teen account. You drive your teenager around, a lot, to their friend Jacob's house, their other friend Jake's house, to James's, to Jaden's, to Jalen's, to...
Mom? This is Jake's house, not Jacob's.
Now with an Uber teen account, your teen can request a ride under your supervision. They'll ride with a highly rated driver, and with live trip tracking, you'll follow along the whole ride to their friends' houses that all sound the same. Add your teen to your Uber account today. See app for details.
Bye, Mom.
Life is full of things to manage. Your work, your family, your plans, and your treatment. Consider Kesimpta, ofatumumab 20 milligram injection. You can take it yourself from the comfort of home. If you're ready for something different, ask your healthcare provider about Kesimpta and check out the details at kesimpta.com. Brought to you by Novartis Pharmaceuticals Corporation.
eBay Motors is here for the ride. With over 122 million parts, you can make sure your number one ride or die stays running smoothly. Brake kits, LED headlights, bumpers, whatever your baby needs, eBay Motors has it. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, it's guaranteed to fit your ride the first time, every time. Plus, at these prices, you're burning rubber, not cash. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply.
And we are back. After Soa's elimination, Queen Kong mourns the loss of her friend, and the girls congratulate Gala on another lip sync win. Vanity continues to be in her head, and later the girls congratulate Tessa on her win. Meanwhile, the girls wonder whether Alyssa Edwards worries about her safe placements. The next day, the girls realize that everyone but Gala and Nelly have a win, and Gala confesses she considered quitting the competition. The girls lend their support to a tearful Galavado just as RuPaul enters the workroom to announce this week's challenges. Let's stop right here. Let's first talk about that teaser scene after Soa's elimination. Do you have any big thoughts there, Robert? I had none.
Not super big, but I didn't follow the logic of Nelenia saying that Alyssa was suddenly in Tessa Testicle's house. Maybe it's because she had to use her materials, but I the way the conversation flowed, I had to actually sit and think about why that happened. But it was fun because it rallied Alyssa up.
I wonder if the joke was because Tessa won a challenge and Alyssa's been safe for so long.
Yeah, I wondered the same. It didn't really connect. So I was wondering if you had thoughts on that.
At the end of the day, I don't think Nelenia puts a lot of thought into the things she says either. Not in a bad way. Not in a bad way. I don't hate Nelenia. I'm just in a shitty mood.
Clearly.
What about the next day when they come in?
You know, I know that we're on Queen Watch over here, but I thought it was just interesting that she's the one who asked everyone, knowing full well who has and doesn't have badges, you know, who's got to win. And it's another example of her being able to like shade Nelenia, but it sort of manufactures this moment where it allows a subsequent conversation for Galavaro to start crying, and then it once again Queen Kong cuts her off so that she can suddenly seem to be this, you know, great motherly figure who can honestly just very patronizingly like comfort her. And I just thought it was so off, and judging by the faces on Pythia and Vanity and everyone else in the room, they were also like, God damn bitch, shut up.
It's almost like those people, those arsonists who start a fire so that they're firemen and then they can go put the fire out.
I don't know how common that is, but yes, it works.
Yeah. I think it might be a thing where most arsonists have some sort of background in fire or something.
Well, that
weird
makes sense. You know, it's like, well, why else would you be so fascinated with the whole fire of it all?
Yeah. What I realized on a rewatch here, you know, because we're not done with Nelenia, so everyone raises their hand that they've won. I'm sorry, their hands, pronoun agreement, that they won, but except for Gala and Nelenia. And I was like, oh, wait, Gala really did go home. Well, she went home with a mini challenge win, which probably should have been sort of do you say harbinger or harbinger?
I say harbinger. I don't know if that's right, though. That's just how I've read it.
It sounds better to me. it should have been a harbinger that they had their eyes set on them. Even though I will say, I should have said this in the lip sync. Both Vanity and Gala, their track record and their performance on this show and the way RuPaul reacts to them, honestly, this is probably one of the most truly equal lip syncs that whoever won this lip sync would have stayed. I don't think there was a favorite in this lip sync. But Gala went home with any sort of challenge wins, except for the mini challenge, which is coming up. I also think, too, when she announced that she had gotten ready to quit, I was like, oh, bitch, you just fucking sealed your fate here, mama.
Probably.
She gave them a lot of material to work with this week, but I think her days were even more numbered.
Well, I appreciate her saying, I'm having the best time of my life, but I want to quit. What?
Yeah. I could see that. I look, again, I have been there and I've already told the story. That was me during the Spotify program. And then I feel there's something we missed. I don't know what it was, but she wasn't crying, and then all of a sudden she was sobbing, and we never saw how that happened. There was no build up or choking up. It was like, yeah, I was gonna quit. Cut to someone saying something, and then they come back and she's already like sobbing. So I'm wondering what we missed that actually made her cry and that they took out. Any other thoughts here, Robert?
Not on that segment. No, just into the mini challenge.
For this week's mini challenge, the girls have to get into quick drag and pose for a profile picture for yet another gay dating app that I will not name because I don't want to give them free advertising. All the girls give it their best shot, but in the end, Galavado is named the winner of the mini challenge. By the way, what's funny is they named this dating app. They told us in no way, how is this different from a Scruff, from a Grindr, from a Bumblebee or whatever these things are called, and Bumble or Match, and not Match, but they don't have gay people on there, but like Hinge. Like, how is this? What was different about this gay dating app?
Wait, am I an idiot? I didn't realize it was a real app.
I think it was because they put the logo for it on there all over the place, and then they didn't. It's so funny. It was on a rewatch. I realized that the mirror moments were tied into the gay dating app.
Yeah, that I did clock. I guess that actually does provide evidence, huh? Well, I guess I'll be downloading something tonight.
It's a real dating app, but it doesn't say how it's different. Join a community that understands you and shares your interests. Archer brings, I already said it. Together, gay men seeking genuine connections from friend to aim high. It's the same thing.
Well, the good thing about a gay dating app launch is that there's always a launch party at some random bar, which means free merch and free drinks. So I need to go find where the
it looks like
party
okay.
is.
It looks like I'm just glancing here. It looks like they have methods to sort of at least minimize catfishing and whatnot.
What app doesn't these days?
I don't know. I'm just saying. I think you have to have a profile pic. Anyway. All right. So then there's the mini challenge. Oh, did you have any? For this week's maxi challenge, it's the Snatch Game of Love. The girls have to sharpen their improv skills as they pretend to be a famous person in this stand-up of the dating game. And as the girls get, I have a lot here. As the girls get ready for the Snatch Game, RuPaul enters the workroom to check on the girls. Queen lies to RuPaul about what character she's portraying. Alyssa doesn't want to play it safe, so she's playing Annie Oakley. Finally, RuPaul convinces Pythia to make a last-minute change to her character. And in the workroom segment, Galavado worries about Snatch Game because she's not a comedy queen. Meanwhile, a frantic Pythia decides to change her character to a Greek god. Let's take this in little pieces, Robert. Let's talk about that mini challenge. They had to get into quick drag and then to pose for, I'm assuming, a profile picture.
That's what it was.
Yeah, and then Galavado won, which I thought was a sign like, bitch, we're going to be sending you home, so we're going to give you something. What did you think of this mini challenge?
I thought the mini challenge was fun. I thought Nelenia did a much better version of what Aja and Trixie wanted to do on the Bachelor way back in All Stars 3. And then, Padilla did the same old lesbian humor that Drag Race loves to do for some reason. And it was just, But I'm joining your camp on 2 items. The first of which is that we got a lot more time with Sebastian. And I do now think that he is above average looking.
Here's why. I put this in my notes. I don't know what the fuck they did to light him or whatever this time, because when they've shown him before, you're right, he looked like a basic white guy. But this time, he looked Latino. He looked like he had some flavor in him. He didn't just look like a random basic white guy.
Well, I'm not above basic white guys. It's just I just never thought he was unique or special. I think when Queen made a comment and walked away, I think they literally added a fuzzy filter, like a vignette lovey filter to him, which might have helped a little bit. But on that pivot, my second camp that I'm joining you in is I can't. Maybe you should have never said something. I can't deal with Queen's laugh anymore. I can't.
You know what it is? Dude. She's doing a Herman Munster laugh. Okay, look up Herman Munster laughing. That's what she's doing. The Herman Munster laugh.
I've seen enough, like, honestly.
And I'm like, oh, this fucking bitch with her Herman Munster laugh. I hate it. Sorry, you got me around that.
No, hey, I mean, I'm not trying to, but yeah, it wasn't. It wasn't.
Queen Kong is particularly bolsterous this episode.
All right, that was my next note.
No, I knew you'd have that on I put it on here, and I even wrote like Robert's going to bring this up.
Well, I loved it. Yeah, but we'll get to it in a second. So
we'll get to it when we get during the table visits. Any other thoughts on the mini challenge?
No, I thought it was fine. I have laughing at myself for not realizing it was a real app, but maybe that's their problem.
Yeah, it's not a good sign when you don't know if it's a real app or not. So Kitty comes out there and Kitty just opens her mouth. I'm not even sure what she said during this mini challenge. And RuPaul is fucking falling on the floor, laughing hysterically. I'm going to be honest with you. From what I'm seeing online, from the way she's being portrayed in this show, there might be somebody else, but I could be wrong. Robert's good at this stuff. But there haven't been many queens who we are clearly going to make it very far and that RuPaul likes them, but the audience cannot stand them, right?
Nina West.
Oh, Nina West is a good example. But like Nina West is more like, but I can feel, I have it and I can feel the audience has like, this show has made her Milk, even though Milk didn't make it far, Milk didn't do himself any favors coming back.
Definitely.
Like, I think people had like okay memories of Kitty Scott Claus, and now even though she's doing well in the competition, she's not doing a lot of good stuff for her image. And I don't know, but
I've said it from the get. She was the one I was least excited to see this season, and nothing's changed that.
Yeah. So you brought this up earlier, but so Vanity goes out there and she does her thing, and Queen in a confessional is like about how funny Vanity is, but she doesn't know it. And I'm like, I'm looking at what's on screen. I'm like, no, she's not funny. I don't think Vanity Vane is funny at all. Do you think she's funny, Robert? You can. You're allowed to. Maybe well, something I'm not getting.
Thank you. I appreciate that. But I don't think she's funny. I just think that her sense of humor is different from the wink, wink, nudge, nudge humor that we usually get. You know, her humor comes from her grumpiness. And that's a slightly different persona, I'd say.
Like a Kennedy Davenport?
Kennedy doesn't often utilize it in challenges, but Vanity has been utilizing in challenges. When Kennedy just walks around as a grumpy ant, like that, yeah. You know, we live. But Vanity's whole sense of humor seems to rely on that. So she could amplify it a lot more, I think, and maybe actually win a smile out of you. Maybe.
Yeah. Maybe. All right, and then in the workroom, they cut the workroom. I put it together in the script, but there were two very, very short workroom moments that are very tiny with nothing happening. And in the first one, Gala is just sort of worrying out loud about her Snatch game, knowing she's not going to do well. And I saw this as a common problem, and I want to talk to you about this, Robert, because for those, they've brought it up on the show, but I feel it's more emphasized on Mexico. But Gala is very educated, very smart, has a medical degree, but I don't know if she's a doctor, right? But she might be just a researcher or something.
Well, I think she has a doctorate, so she's a doctor. Okay.
She's a doctor, but not like a medical doctor.
Just not like a physician, I think.
Yeah, she's not a physician. Thank you. So she's very, very smart and taking a very, very good student. And I think I've seen this before. There's been other queens who they overthink it and they're trying to attack it the way they would when they're in school. And I think that's the problem. It was overthought. And what's funny is she could have gone simpler. She should have just played it safe and done some stupid fucking, like, honestly, Sofia Vergara, and it would have been not good, right? But she might not know who Sofia Vergara is, though. That might just be an American star, and she doesn't know who that is. But, like, RuPaul was clearly pushing her to do something so fucking stupid and insulting, but she probably would have stayed another week if she would have leaned into that.
Possibly. But she had been lip syncing the last 2 episodes already, so
yeah, and they wanted her gone. Yeah, I'm just trying to think of a way. But what do you think of that?
No,
How do
I
you
hear
think
you.
you would do on Snatch Game, Robert?
I don't think I would win, but I think I would be able to come up with a concept that would render me safe. Yeah. You know, like I think when last posed, I'd say like a Jane Lynch character is very easy to do. It's already a very caustic sort of character who's built for volleying. And I think I'm not saying that I'm clever and quick enough at improv to actually like knock it out of the park, but I think I do better than stumbling and mumbling. You know what I mean? Which Lord Leon was a stumble and mumble kind of character, as was Vanity's Loreen.
Well, it's funny because for being such a student of just being such a student, you would think that Gala would know, like, you shouldn't go for verisimilitude when you're doing these characters. And I think that was a very like season 3, season 4 type of thing that girls would fall for. Like, you know, Fifi thought, well, I look like Gaga. You're like, well, okay, what is that? Okay,
give a twirl,
you know?
Give a twirl, give a twirl, give a twirl.
And I feel like Gala sort of fell in that trap because she had nothing to say. Even when some of them were kind of like low-hanging fruit with the olive oil or something, you know, she just couldn't do it. And what were they talking about? I don't even know what I was talking about.
Well, we were talking about Galavaro taking perhaps too academic.
Too academic of an approach. All right, let's go to the table visits where RuPaul visited with all the queens. Okay, go ahead. Give your note about Bolsterous.
Well, I think it was episode 3 or 4 where Alyssa Edwards used funner and Tessa was immediately like, funner. And I've continued to live for that setup. And this bolsterous moment was exactly it because Tessa, of course, she's, you know, going to continue with deference to RuPaul, but RuPaul says bolsterous and clearly Tessa knows that's no fucking word. But she repeats it back to him with a glint in her eye. And I love that. I thought it was funny. And she, you know, she offered what she knew RuPaul meant, which was, you know, rambunctious and effectively boisterous. And I continue to adore the testicle one, gotta say.
I also love, you know, because RuPaul's an EP and that no one called her and said, hey, listen, you said bolsterous. We'll use AI to just sort of loop you in saying boisterous.
Mexican.
And, what?
Oh, I was referring to the All Stars 2 reading challenge when Tatiana clearly said Chipotle, but...
Yeah. I have to give props to Nilenia for as respectfully and not getting herself in trouble, speaking truth to power when she told RuPaul that essentially it's very difficult when you don't speak English as your first language to then have to play a game that requires a mastery of that language to do well.
I think it's one of the first times they've explicitly addressed it to her.
And RuPaul just ignored her.
Well, then she said, just say margarita pizza.
Yeah, just say margarita pizza and ignore the question. Ignore the question?
Well, make it work
That's
for you.
That never worked for anybody. Yeah. I also love that Alyssa says, safe isn't good enough. She goes, so let me play a character I've already done that everyone loves from All Stars 2.
That has no other discernible traits other than the Alyssa-isms.
And that also that Alyssa didn't use her own voice on, she lip-synced.
Yeah, I guess the character was handed to her, actually.
Handed to her. The jokes were written for her, like the Yippee-Ki Gay and Bang Bang, that whole song.
Yeah.
She had no part in it except for the wig.
Yeah, I guess we'll get to the actual Snatch Game in a moment. But another moment I noticed was, again, I'm no Muppet scholar. What the fuck is a Swedish chef? I thought that was just a chef.
I think that's the name of the character.
I googled it, so yes, but like how did it? Is that a commonly known thing? Do people know the Swedish Chef? Is that like a? Do you know?
I think he's in the second or third tier of Muppets, but yeah.
But I never knew his name. He doesn't walk around with the name tag.
Does he have a name?
Yeah, he's the Swedish Chef.
Oh, but he doesn't have like Sven or something like that.
Not that I just thought he was the chef guy with bushy eyebrows. But whatever.
But don't you think that's kind of offensive? Like, it would be like if she was a Galavaro, just do Speedy Gonzalez.
Well, and I mean, it wasn't that different when she told Galavaro, just do telenovela. And it's also RuPaul's concept of telenovela is so fucking tired. I'm like, it wasn't funny in season 2 when she made Jessica Wilde do it in every subsequent season. I'm just like, grow up a little bit, RuPaul.
Well, also, she's saying just do this, but she's the arbiter of what's funny. I would be like, bitch, show me an example of how you would do that in a telenovela style and be funny in Snatch Game. What does that mean? Be telenovela. What would that mean?
Just large expressions and, swing big, basically. But I mean, the only telenovela that RuPaul seems to be familiar with is when that gif of the woman who walks into the room and shocked and gagged with her mouth wide open. That's RuPaul's only concept of it. And she's asking all the queens to Flanderize themselves based on their ethnicity. And it's just like, the world's a bigger place than what you know. It's just frustrating.
And then do you have any other thoughts on the table visits?
It was very ominous. It was an ominous time because I'm like, here we go with all the ethnic stereotypes. He tells Pythia to do something more Greek, and I thought that she had a pretty good twist on it, but the problem was still there, which we will get into now.
Well, also telling her to do Maria Callas, which is like, I would say to RuPaul, how do you make Maria Callas funny? And next question is, who the fuck is Maria Callas?
That was my question.
Maria Callas was a very famous opera singer.
Okay, cool. I'll look her up later. But then shortly thereafter, Kitty did the same fucking thing that she did last week where she's like, do Hercules. And I'm like, what, diva?
Well, that's a good segue. I'd be very curious to see or hear what other drag queens who've been on the show think about Kitty's behavior, because I've noticed there's a trend of if you're in a table visit with Kitty, she is going to throw you under the fucking bus and roast you in front of RuPaul. She has no qualms about doing it to anybody. She will just do it to them to make RuPaul laugh. She will just rip you a new one, which is funny because I think if somebody did it to her, she would flip the fuck out. And my evidence of this, no one's done it to her. My evidence is when Nelenia was upset, Kitty flipped the fuck out in confessional because she didn't get to tell the other girls what all the compliments she got on the main stage.
I mean, Kitty's a queen. She said it explicitly herself in, I think, episode 1. I think this is true for the vast majority of queens, but she is a queen who is very, very self-aware about the fact that she only does drag because she wants all eyes on her and the attention. So, I
hope she likes it. All right, Snatch Game of Love. We're going to talk about the rounds, but why don't we do this? This is the perfect place to talk about the Javis. Los Javis, are they actually married?
I don't know, actually.
But they've been together for 12 years. They are judges on Drag Race España. I think on España, they're very hot. The lighting here wasn't doing them any favors or seeing them away from the judges table because, I mean, I knew the little Javi was little, but I didn't realize how Javito he was, where he was still short with his like 3-inch platform shoes.
Yeah.
But
ain't nothing wrong with the pocket gay. We've talked about it so many times this season.
I think they're both really hot.
I think that Calvo could be hot if he didn't always look like he had a wasp buzzing around in his mouth.
Calvo also it's very specific when he's hot. Like, remember in the first season he was on España, he dyed his hair blonde, or was it the second season?
I feel like maybe the second. Maybe.
That did not look good. He does not look good with blonde hair. Looks better with the naturally dark hair. I could see where you're going with that. I think I might like the wasp in the mouth look. I'm not sure.
Okay. As someone who gets called as is looking haughty all the time, I'm like, that's a man who looks fucking haughty and above and
I
pompous.
think they kind of maybe are pompous. It was very weird see them out of the. It was weird to see them out of their element where they are clearly deferring to RuPaul, because they're kind of the cock of the walk in España. They wrote that stupid veneno, and I don't know if it's stupid. I'm just calling it that.
It's pretty good, but Spanish gays are over them. They see that they're overexposed.
Yes, I've heard about this, and also and people talked about this, and I could see it. It's like when they're speaking in their native tongue. That's their native tongue, so they sound really kind of sexy, and then you hear their voice speaking English, and it made them sound not as sexy, and not because people like a Spanish accent. There was just something in their voice where they were just kind of more nasally, where I don't think that comes across on Spain.
Well, that is Spanish, yeah.
And so, do you have any other thoughts on the Javis before we get into this?
Well, just that it was a Javi-heavy weekend for me because I did watch the premiere of España Season 4, and I've said several times that España is one of my favorite franchises. I love it so much, and this season is looking to continue that trend. I was texting my best friend about this last night. I was like, it just astounds me how... One of my several best friends last night. It just astounds me that even 4 seasons in, they are so good at getting fully realized, fascinating characters for their cast. Like their drag is amazing. Their perspectives and artistic ability just far outstrips certainly what we've seen on American seasons in the last several seasons. I love Spanish drag and Drag Race España.
We're also hearing great things about Drag Race Philippines. We're hearing great things about Drag Race Thailand.
Yes.
And I think the answer to your question, and it's a very simple solution for the American Drag Race, is don't make so many fucking shows. Spain does 1 show a year. The Philippines, I don't know what they're doing. Once a year? I don't know. Thailand's been away for 5. That's
the key too, is that they have several generations of queens to draw from, whereas obviously we're kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel in the States. We just kind of get new queens and the occasional, veteran. But Drag Race Spain does a great job of mixing all kinds of perspectives. And yes, the episode was an hour and a half long, and I was like, fuck, I thought I was going to rewatch Castle in the Sky tonight, but not with this hour and a half long episode of Drag Race España. So I didn't get to do that, but it was a worthy switch.
Well, here's the thing too, and I don't have this as a fact. This is just what I'm seeing. This is empirical decision or analysis here. Is I think that the casting of Drag Race United States flagship show is very much geared towards youth and beauty and glamour. Not glamour, youth and beauty. And I mean Instagram beauty.
Nowadays,
take sugar and spice. And I think it'd be harder for an older, more experienced queen to get on the show. So I don't think it's that the bench isn't very deep. I think that's what they're really focused on. They'll sprinkle in a Sasha Colby or a couple other people in here and there. But the balance of the cast is going to be very young and very how old are you? And which, oh man, I cannot wait. I want to be there on that birthday.
But the day that she turns the same age as Tempest was at the time.
Whatever age Tempest was on season 7, when Candy Ho turns that age, I want to be there and I want to be the first one to say, how old are you?
So how old are you?
I heard in my head it was like that, the way I said it.
No, it's the way I said it.
Oh, in my head it was like, how old are you?
No, that's not how the emphasis worked.
Snatch Game of Love, round 1. We have, let me pull up my outline here. We have, so it's Javier Calvo, the tall one, is the Bachelor.
In another crazy outfit.
Another crazy ass outfit. Nobody dresses normal anymore. And the celebrities were Queen Kong as a character named King Schlong that was so amazing she had to hide it from RuPaul. Galavado as Laura Leone, Kitty Scott Claus as Princess Diana, and Nelenia as the fashion designer Valentino. Any big thoughts here on this round?
I actually have a good number of them. So I think just starting off with Queen, because she's first in the lineup. My God, the King Schlong character was such an asinine choice. There was no character to it. It was an awful look, very uncomfortable makeup. And even before we inevitably discussed the taco moment, I just did not like anything she was doing. The stupid laugh, like I told you, I'm over. I don't like these made up characters without a perspective. And it just, everything about it I thought was the pits. Couldn't deal. It was
horrible. I can't believe I had to watch that twice. It was so bad.
Same.
And then clearly too, and by the way, she's not the only one guilty of this. But ever since Jimbo, now remember, for these girls, they filmed this a year ago, so Jimbo's all-star appearance would have been the most recent one in their head. They would have seen. So Queen, Jimbo got up as Shirley Temple and did that tap dance moment later. So then now Queen Kong's running around the stage, and Alyssa's running around the stage. Everyone's running around now. Because they're like, we're going to do the Jimbo ran around, so we're going to run around. Queen Kong was horrible. It wasn't funny. And it was offensive by how unfunny it was. And I didn't like it. And that's why I'm just like, this fucking... I wasn't with the Redditors when they were talking about how RuPaul favors Queen Kitty and Alyssa. But man, the way RuPaul was guffawing at this... She's trying. God bless her. She's trying to make something happen, but it was not good. Everyone was horrible. No one was good.
I don't know if everyone was horrible, but
everyone was horrible. They were horrible. There wasn't a good person here. Go ahead.
How did you respond to the taco moment? Because RuPaul, I don't think had laughed it harder during the Snatch Game.
Okay. There's a part of me that wants to say, well, look, the natural easy thing would be to say, oh, how would RuPaul like it? And then make an equivalent joke about African Americans, right?
Sure. We don't need to do all that.
The reason you can't say that is RuPaul would laugh hysterically if you did it about African Americans too. She doesn't
RuPaul
discriminate
would, but Queen would
on her. Yeah. No, not Queen. But RuPaul does not discriminate on who she laughs at base race jokes at. She's an equal opportunity offender. Likes the offensive jokes on. Yeah. And but the thing with Queen is, look, if it was like a Bianca or somebody like that, or well, Bianca's Latino, but I don't know. The thing with Queen is that she is the person who is like, oh my God, people of color, they're so mean to me. And they're mean to white people are mean to people of color. I have to speak for the people of color. I'm the person that speaks for the people of color. It's about every outfit is about the indigenous people in Australia. And then she goes on there and drags Galavado down and reduces her down to a stereotype about tacos. And I'm just like, yeah, that's Queen Kong for you.
That is, it's like, I can't speak to any of her activism outside of the show because I'm not familiar with it, but it's just such a thin facade, She's just as mean-spirited as everyone else, but she positions herself as this enlightened individual. Like, her very first answer in Snatch Game, I think, was making the same boring, tired joke about white privilege by, like, eating the white person.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God. Like,
what a horrible, stupid joke.
I hate that joke. Like, I think Kimora Hall made it a few times. Ugh, it sucks. It's boring.
The easy joke, because she's a big fat cow, was to be like, eat Kitty because she's a big fat cow.
It works with the British.
It works with whom?
Well, the British way of saying that, calling people cows.
Yeah. I don't care. This Kitty's so mean to everybody fucking else because Gala's skinny. And was Pythia on that one, or was she the other one?
It was, hello, it's me, Valentino.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, I would still go with Kitty. Nilenia just looks like she's fat, but she's not really fat. I don't know why she looks fat. It's really...
Queen's Snatch Game wasn't doing it for me. I confess, neither was Gala's. I clocked, I don't know that this has ever happened before, but when RuPaul introduced Galavaro as Lord Leon, she didn't say anything, and then they just moved on to the next queen.
Because here's the deal, and I should have mentioned this, but here are my notes. Galavaro was doing, like I said, when they're like, we're going to look like them. And then there have been other queens who do this. It's very strange. It's a weird choice. Where then they go on there and they essentially recite their Wikipedia impression. I mean, the entry. So she'll be like, hi, it's me, Laura Leone, it's telenovela star and fashion icon. And you're like, that's a weird thing for that character to say.
Mother of two.
Yeah, mother of two. Galavaro was awful.
Yes,
awful.
But the hardest I laughed was when she said that she'd take the olive oil and make a salad. My expectations were subverted, and just because I knew it was so awful that I was cackling. And then they asked her what kind of salad. She was like, a Spanish salad, and I was like, that doesn't make any fucking sense, Queen. It
made no sense.
I loved it though.
So, but this is, I was saying earlier that everybody here was awful. The proof of that is Galavaro was fucking awful. And in stronger Snatch Games, when the queen is really awful, going back to season 6, Bianca took advantage of this, and there have been other Snatch Games when they do. The stronger queens will then springboard off of their awfulness to be good. And I was sort of, I wouldn't say disappointed, because I'm glad she didn't hate Kitty Scott Claus, but I'm surprised Princess Diana did not springboard off of Gala's terrible comments.
I see. Well, that would have required Kitty Scott Claus to have any layers and levels to her performance, and she didn't. It was all very low level, low voice, low concept, to be honest with you.
All right, that's all I have for round one. Do you have any thoughts on round one?
To echo what I pretty much just said, I did not enjoy Kitty's Princess Diana. Not because I'm offended. I don't give a fuck. But I did think that it was just very one note, and she spent most of the game trying to not laugh at herself, which is so fucking Kitty Scott Claus. But I will give her props for the very end when she made the joke to touching Javier Calvo. She hugged him and says, "Oh, I love the gays. Let me touch you," and then said, "Make sure the cameras get this." I thought that was probably the smartest joke anyone made that round.
Do you want to go ahead and explain that joke for everybody?
Well, Princess Diana is famously known for being one of the first celebrities or just public figures to physically touch someone who was in an AIDS ward at a time during the AIDS crisis that everyone thought or had the misconception that it was possibly transmitted via skin-to-skin contact. And so she, in essence, really helped sort of stigmatize physical contact between AIDS patients and non-AIDS patients. Granted, this is in the 80s. I wasn't born yet, so this is secondhand.
Yeah, but also, neither was I. But also, in a sense, there was something magnanimous about Princess Diana wanting the cameras to show that she was touching these AIDS patients, because she wanted to show.
Yeah,
it wasn't to show how great she was. It wasn't any kind of self-aggrandizement, but it was to show, look, I am Princess Diana, who you would think would be very not into this. I'm touching this AIDS patient. It is okay.
Yeah, it's true. And like I have no ill will towards Princess Di.
Mm-hmm. This is what I want to say. And I had this for later, but I'll say it now. This Kitty Scott Claus was so fucking impressed with herself. She said multiple times throughout and this is only what they showed. She's like, "Oh, I'm so bad. I don't know if they're going to let me back in England or give me an MBE. I don't I don't know. Oh my God." Oh, and I'm like, girl, no one's thinking. We've seen way more offensive things about British people. About the Queen, we've seen more Queen Elizabeth, we've seen more offensive. Oh my God, I'm so bad. I'm like, she really didn't say anything.
No, I guess that you could say maybe it offended people who think of her as like a fairy princess, but to be so vulgar. But even then, she wasn't even that vulgar.
No, I could have thought of a lot more way offensive things to say about this Princess Diana.
Significantly more, yeah. I thought Nelenia also as Valentina was cute, but nothing terribly to write home about. Yeah. People were saying she should have been in the top. I was like, ugh.
No. She was fine enough to be safe. Round 2. This one had Javier Ambrosi. Any thoughts here on round 2? Oh, I'm sorry. I do also have who they were. The queens were for round 2. Vanity Vane as Laureen, a Eurovision singer. Alyssa Edwards as Annie Oakley. Tessa as party queen Suzanne Barch. And then Pythia as the god Zeus. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. I don't have as much to say on this round, except that, I mostly know Loreen because of Euphoria, and I love that song. Who doesn't? And I don't think she made a Euphoria reference, but I guess that would have just been catered to me and other idiots like me. But Alyssa's Annie Oakley makeup was awful. I don't know why. She looked like Elliot with 2 T's, and I didn't get it. It didn't track. But I still I really enjoyed her cock-a-doodle-doo bird sounds. We love Alyssa squirping and chirping like a bird.
Yeah, but that question was, written for her. And it was clearly ask Alyssa Edwards this question.
But sometimes I just want to laugh, girl.
Okay.
I can't remember a single thing from Suzanne Barch except this is the front, this is the back, whatever, move on. And then I did think it was a clever twist that that RuPaul asked Pythia to do something Greek, and she says, okay, I'll do Greek, but I'll also do Greek and be a frat star, which was fun.
Oh, I didn't pick up on that. You just fucking blew my mind.
I thought it was silly. A lot of people are horny for it, and I can see what they're saying. I love that she was still in heels. I made sure to pause the show a few times to check because I was like, is Zeus in heels? And yeah, that bitch was. I live. And I thought, I don't know why this didn't win. I did not love that she kept saying Opak, like very, very much being like, Ru, please insult my culture by laughing at this. And I think by the end, Ru took the bait a little bit, but it's no pizza margarita. But yeah.
So this was also equally awful. Pythia to me was the strongest one in both groups. Clearly, she wasn't chosen because Javier Ambrosi, who was dressed like the tissue box in my grandma's bathroom,
it's a cute tissue box.
Yeah, was gonna pick Alyssa no matter what Alyssa did, and that's all I have to say about round 2. Pythia was the best one. She should have won the whole thing. Honestly, Pythia should have been the winner. She was the best in the Snatch Game, and her outfit was the best. So, okay, let's go to Elimination Day. It's Elimination Day, and the girls get ready for the runway. Alyssa gives props to Pythia. Gala and Vanity know they did poorly. Kitty fucked the fan. And finally, Vanity Vane met her boyfriend on a gay dating app. Any thoughts here on Elimination Day?
No, I think even for a talk about love and romance among drag queens, it was a pretty surface level conversation. And, it's cute that Vanity found her boyfriend at a denim store. But that's it, right?
I thought that was the whole thing. Yeah, we met at a denim store.
That's really it. I didn't. Yeah.
So I will give props to the editors, and I'm hoping this was some sort of meta thing they did. Maybe it wasn't, but they did one of the things that Jay Ellis and I love about old school Drag Race. Maybe they still do. I don't remember. But they were teasing into the break, and they showed Alyssa going, what did she say? Let me teach you something right now. And you're like, there's going to be drama in Untucked. And we get back, and it was, that guy should have paid you because he was a fan. There was no drama whatsoever. Kitty told a story about how she fucked a guy, and it turned out at the end that he was a fan of the show. And Alyssa was like, you should have charged a booking fee.
Does Kitty go through life thinking that people are messaging her on dating apps not knowing who she is?
Does Kitty think people go through life messaging her on dating apps? I don't believe that story. There's
at least one time.
This Kitty Scott Claus. There's no one who's fucking her. There's a part where somebody called Vanity Vane Van.
Oh, yeah, that was weird.
Vanity responds and goes, Van, do I look that white? What the fuck does that mean?
Yeah, that's what I meant was weird. I'm like, Vanity, you're actually quite literally the most Anglo-Saxon in this group almost. I guess Kitty's there. But yeah, it didn't track for me either. Poor Pythia, she's just trying to be a girl.
All right, let's go to the runway. Category is Eat Me. They had to dress as some sort of food. A lot of people chose cake or ice cream or something like that, which is a thing. Your thoughts here on the runway, Robert?
Yeah, right before the runway was yet another Los Javis advertisement for the fact that they want to have extramarital sex with the entire world of gays, which I don't think they have to angle that hard, to be honest with you.
Oh, but, they for sure fuck Gala that night.
It's all, or maybe even Pythia. It's all they talk about is like, we're having an open relationship. Come have sex with us. It's endless.
Well, I said Gala because she went home.
Oh yeah, and then she had a little
still quarantined.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah. I see what you're saying. Well, I mean, I guess some Mexicans were colonized that day, but I just noticed I'm like the Javis are impressive for a lot of reasons, and it's not because they're in an open relationship.
Yeah.
So whatever.
There's a part where Kitty Scott Claus comes out and she does bangers. No, she does a full English breakfast, and she has sausages hanging. And the little Javi turns to RuPaul, and it's weird. There's no reaction to this. It's a thing. She goes, in Spain, we always have sausages for breakfast. And then just cuts away to another, and you're like, okay, that's so does the United States too, and I'm sure in other parts of the world.
Yeah, not even a chorizo joke.
Yeah. That was it.
It was weird, but you know, it was equally weird. Why did Galavaro choose? She should have done tacos, clearly, but why did she choose chocolate and candy like that's somehow emblematic of Mexican culture? She didn't even choose specifically Mexican candies.
Well, what's funny is, and again, it shows you how everyone defers to RuPaul. RuPaul, and no one addressed this later on in the judges' critique. She's actually reading Gala, and she goes, where's the fucking chocolate? And I'm like, bitch, it was on the dress that she tore away.
Yeah.
But no one said it. They were like, oh, it was kind of awkward. And then they just kind of made a joke out of it, and that her ass was chocolate or something.
Mm-hmm. Well, equally confusing was why was Alyssa Edwards ice cream? And I thought those shoulders should match them hips, but they don't. So... But I love Tessa's cheese look, and I loved Pythia's, is it pronounced Spanakopita?
Spanakopita. Okay. RuPaul, and I can't say it either, but she couldn't say it. I think it's like, oh, how do you fucking say that thing? It's not, I'm sure it's not surströmming. It's actually written on Vanity's little bucket was the name of that.
Oh, yeah. The rotted fish.
The rotted fish. And then, that's all I have to say about the runway. Any other thoughts on the runway?
No, I think everything else was odd. I didn't understand. I said no, and now I have 3 quick things to say. I don't understand why some food got pictures and some didn't. And then like Nelania's cake, they got a slice of the cake, which didn't look anything like her dress. But if you know the actual cake, it looks like the dress. But it was, whatever. I love the category of food and drag. I just don't love what was done with it by half the queens.
One more thing on the main stage later, we haven't gotten there yet, but I just want to do this now. RuPaul says to Gala, when did you realize it wasn't going well? And then they cut to a really weird, like the Javis laughing super hard. Do you remember this?
I do. And I think I saw something or people were confused about it. That didn't bump for me, actually.
Yeah, it's very, very I only noticed it on the second watch. So on the second watch, she goes like, so Gala, when did you actually know it wasn't going well? And then it was like... and it was just a weird cut. All right, Anna talked to Alyssa laments the fact that she's safe yet again. Later, Pythia and Kitty receive their flowers, while Gala, Vanity, and Tessa wrestle with the notion that they may be in the bottom. Back on the main stage, Kitty Scott Claus is named the winner of the challenge, while Vanity Vane and Galavado are placed in the bottom 2, forcing them face off in a lip-sync battle for their lives. The song, Mana by the Muppets. In the end, Vanity Vane was told, Shantae, you stay, while Galavado was asked to sashay away. Roberto Mata, any final thoughts on this episode?
I think the term masterclass has no meaning anymore because RuPaul calling Kitty Scott Claus's Princess Di masterclass is...
No, not at all.
What? Maybe she's trying to advertise her previous masterclass classes.
Yeah, which were no masterclass themselves.
I mean, well, I don't get it. I definitely thought Pythia should have won based on the challenge and the runway. Kitty, she gets her favoritism continued, I guess. So I wish we were watching a better, setup.
Yeah, it's been kind of sad how disappointing this season has been. And there you go.
But now I have España.
I don't. That's going to do it for this week's episode of RuPaul's Drag Race Recap. Be sure to join us next weekend every week as we continue to discuss, dissect, and deconstruct each brand new episode of RuPaul's Drag Race Global All-Stars Season 1. So, for Rebecca, before I say this, are you going to watch UK?
I am not going to lie. Almost every UK season except Season 2 has been just like bad vibes, and I just don't enjoy it. So I don't know. But I did I think it was Dita DeBoy or something. I can't remember. I think I'm mixing up older drag queen names, but the older queen on the cast, I think I would love to see her.
All right, very good. So for Roberto Mata and myself,
sashay away until next week.
Thank you for listening to Drag Race Recap. Have something to say? Leave us a voicemail at speakpipe.com/afterthoughtmedia. You can also email us at dragracerecap@afterthought.media. For more Drag Race and LGBTQ content, support us over at patreon.com/afterthoughtmedia. This podcast was produced by Sabrina Vadabancourt. You can follow Robert Mata on Instagram at RAWB54. Follow Joe Batance on Instagram at Joe Batance. Special thanks to these expensive tier Patreon supporters: April Pacheco, Astute Girl, Brad Coley, Derek Byers, Doofus Maximus, E. Smith, Effie Wap, Emma, Phil Skit Pony, Flying Suki, Humble Pie, J. Thomas Plank, Kathy Zender, Lauren Eckert, Lucy Carrasco, Luke Stamen, Mary S., Mike Yeager, Nikki Baker, Mickey Pettit, Poppy Woods, We've Gotta Go Edita, Robert NYC, Sarah Yu, Runner Brandon, Tom Bombs, Traby Cosmos, and Troy Anderson. Drag Race Recap is an Afterthought Media podcast.